What if I told you that empathy was one of, if not the most important aspect for successful communication? By the end of this video, I'm going to explain to you the 7 different parts of empathy and why they are all necessary for effective communication. I help my clients figure out how to stop having the same communication problems over and over again, and I've spent the last decade or so of my career figuring out how to delicately but successfully say hard things. Empathy is essential to help develop positive relationships with people because it helps you increase your connection to them. So if you increase your empathy, then you're able to increase your connection to other individuals. This is beneficial in both personal and professional communication, whether it's your partner, your parent, your child, or your boss or your team member. You want to have some level of connection with the different people in your life. And increasing that connection can help you have more effective communication. So, what is it? What is empathy? Empathy is the ability to recognize another person's emotions. It's the ability to be able to say, okay, I might not be feeling this in this moment right now, but they are feeling this particular emotion. Sad. They're feeling sad. They're feeling angry. They're feeling hurt, right? They are feeling this particular emotion, and I am able to empathize. I am able to recognize that they are feeling something, even if I can't name exactly what the emotion is. And it's really important to recognize that just because you might not feel a particular way in a particular moment, right? Maybe somebody critiquing your presentation at work would not evoke feelings of anxiety in you, but you recognize for somebody that's on your team, right? That does evoke a feeling of anxiety in them. So that doesn't mean you don't give them a critique. That doesn't mean you don't give them constructive feedback, but it just means that you are aware of how that makes them feel. And so you can then calibrate maybe your tone of voice or how you deliver the feedback and the manner that you deliver the feedback in accordingly. All right, so how do you develop empathy? As I mentioned before, there are 7 different aspects that I'm going to cover. And the first one is getting to know them, getting to know the other person. This might sound simple, and in some ways, getting to know somebody is simple, but it's not necessarily easy. What do I mean by that? This means that you have to listen when they talk. This means that you have to pay attention to the nonverbal cues that they are giving out, right? You have to put forth an effort into getting to know that person, getting to know what makes them tick, getting to know what evokes feelings of happiness or sadness or anxiety, right? Getting to know somebody is not necessarily difficult, but it does require effort. Also, we need to recognize the fact that there are different versions of people, right? Just because you get to know someone at work does not necessarily mean that you know the version of them that they are when they are at home with their family or when they are out with their friends, right? There are different versions of people. And so we need to be aware that when we are getting to know somebody, we're getting to know the version of them that they are showing us in that moment. And maybe over time, as we get to know them better, then we'll get to know all of the different versions of them. Okay, here's part 2 for developing empathy. Part 2, you need to ask for clarification and you need to ask for feedback. What do I mean by this? When you're talking to somebody and maybe you don't understand exactly what they've said, do you ask for clarification? Do you say, hey, when you said that you were upset by the fact that I was late for dinner on Monday, like what about that made you upset, right? Like that's an off the cuff example. But if you don't understand why somebody is feeling a particular type of way, if you don't understand exactly what somebody said, right? You want to make sure that you are asking for clarification, and in some instances asking for feedback from that person. We don't just want to make assumptions about what somebody meant if we are even a little bit unclear about what that was. And in a work context, right? Like asking for clarification or for feedback, you want to ask the person, okay, it seemed like you were nervous when you were delivering that presentation, or it seems like you were worried when you were presenting So we just want to make sure that we are asking for clarification or asking for feedback when we don't understand something. And then we get into part 3, expressing our own emotions. So, part 3, expressing our own emotions. We need to be able to be honest and, when appropriate, vulnerable with whoever it is that we are talking to. Our vulnerability and our honesty will in turn help facilitate that other person's vulnerability and their honesty. Are they comfortable being vulnerable with us? Are they comfortable telling us the truth? If we are modeling for them that we are comfortable and we are able to be honest with them, to be open with them, to be vulnerable with them, then that then helps them feel comfortable being honest and vulnerable and open about their emotions with us. Part 4, don't judge or offer your opinion about something unless you are asked. I'm going to say this again. Part 4, don't judge or offer your opinions about something unless you are asked. If somebody comes to you, your best friend comes to you, and they are explaining to you a situation that they got themselves into, or they're saying to you, telling you a story about something that they did, you want to make sure that you are providing them with whatever feedback that they are looking for in the moment. And this, maybe you know this because you've gotten to know this person, right? You've known them for years and years and years. And you know when they come to you with a story like this, that they want you to offer them comfort or offer them support. Or maybe they want you to push back a little bit on what they did, to ask them questions, to help them feel out whether or not they're sure they did the right thing, right? Unless you know this person really, really, really well. And even then, it might be good to just clarify and not assume and ask them if they want your opinion before you just jump in and offer it. And then, if you're going to make a judgment about what somebody is telling you or what somebody did, my advice would be basically keep that to yourself unless you are specifically asked by them for you to tell them what you think about what they did, right? If they are asking you for your thoughts, if they are asking you for your opinion, if they're asking for you to offer up your assessment of whether or not you think what they did was okay, was right, was it the right call, then by all means, offer that up to the person if they are asking you for it. But if you have not been explicitly asked for your opinion, my advice would be don't offer it unsolicited. Number 5, don't tell someone how they should or shouldn't be feeling. You don't have to agree with how they are feeling, right? You don't have to feel the way that they feel in the same situation, right? Maybe you would feel differently if something like what happened to them happened to you. But you don't get to make a determination about whether or not what they're feeling is right. And then you definitely don't want to tell them how they should or shouldn't be feeling in that moment. If somebody comes to you and they are vulnerable and they are honest and they're opening up to you about something, especially if it's something sensitive or something difficult or something that clearly has triggered some big feelings or some emotions, we don't want to offer judgment on how they are feeling. You can validate their feelings. You can validate their feelings as being real to them, even if you wouldn't feel the same way in that particular situation. And that brings us to the next point. Listen. This is point 6, and the whole point is just listen. Sometimes this is the hardest thing to do. You can ask open-ended questions. If somebody is telling you a story, you can listen. Make sure you don't jump in and interject until it's clear that they've paused or they've asked you for your thoughts. A lot of the times we have a lot of thoughts, we have a lot of opinions. We maybe want to make sure we don't forget what we mean to say or what we're going to say. If you're unsure if you're going to forget, maybe write it down. But the main point here is that we want to make sure that when somebody comes to us, we are listening to them. Because if you don't listen when somebody comes to you to tell you something, why would they then want to come again and tell you more things in the future, right? Like if they come to you and you don't listen to them the first time, or the second time or even the third time, why would they keep coming to you? Why would they want to try and talk to you more if they just think you're not going to listen to them when they do try? And that brings us to point 7 and nonverbal communication. You need to use your body language to show that you care. So that's point 7, using your body language to show that you care. What do I mean by this? Put your phone away or turn it face down. Physically face them if you are talking on a couch or something. Look them in the eye. Nod your head to make sure that you are conveying that you understand, right? Don't have your arms crossed if somebody's coming to you and they're being vulnerable. You want to use your body language and your tone of voice to show them that you care what they are talking about, to care that you care that they have come to you and they are sharing whatever it is that they want to share with you. You want to give them indications that you are paying attention to what they are saying, because we can hope that you are actually paying attention to what they are saying. And even if there's a moment in the conversation where they have said something and you're like, oh shit, like I wasn't paying attention or I didn't quite get that, you can stop them and say, hey, I'm really, really sorry. Can you repeat what you just said? I want to make sure I understood it. I want to make sure I fully grasped what you were trying to tell me. Nobody has to be perfect, right? Your brain might not be in tune all the time, and you might not be actively paying attention at a certain particular moment. That is okay. But then you need to convey to them, oh, hey, I'm sorry. Just if it's appropriate to interrupt them, right? Do it as soon as you realize you weren't paying attention. And then ask them, say, hey, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? I didn't catch that, right? So that way they know that you are actually paying attention to what they are saying. So those are the 7 different components of empathy. Number 1, getting to know the other person. Number 2, asking for clarification and feedback. Number 3, expressing your own emotions. Number 4, don't judge or offer opinions unless asked. Number 5, don't tell somebody how they should or should not be feeling. Number 6, listen. And number 7, use your body language to show that you are engaged, that you are listening to them. All right. If you have questions about any of those things, or if any of those made you think, hey, I'm not quite sure I got that particular point, or you'd like me to explain something further, drop it in a comment below. I will happily take a look at it and potentially make another video on it. And hopefully this is helpful for your communication. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos. And if you'd like to work with me one-on-one, you can drop it in a comment below and I will get back to you.